Batman is a hero I've always associated with being a lone wolf. That's likely because of the large majority of live action films he's portrayed that way. But there are a number of characters, specifically in the comics, but even in a couple live actions, that pop in and out to either help Batman or be a sidekick to Batman. I mean, there's a reason why people say, I'll be the Robin to your Batman. Now, Batman in the Bat family is something that's either really never been touched, or it's been kind of laughable in Joel Schumacher's version. But the potential is definitely there. Bringing them into live action would not only give us a fresh idea, but it also gives us an opportunity to explore some amazing storylines. As I mentioned in the last video, Red Hood has always been on the top of my list for favorite Batman stories, and it really needs to be brought into a live action. A lot of these casting decisions are for that Red Hood film if it would come into fruition, so Red Hood as if it's a major storyline, as well as the other Robins for their own potential storyline. But before we get started, I want to thank today's sponsor, Skillshare. I've had a couple comments on my recasting videos in the past about the Photoshops and what program I use. I do use Photoshop, which is definitely an in-depth program. If you're interested, Skillshare can help you learn it. I've been looking into the advanced Photoshop methods with Daniel Scott, but there are some introductory lessons that he starts off with as well. If you're interested in Photoshop, I check them out, but even if you're interested in filmmaking, Penny Lane has a wonderful class entitled Filmmaking from Home, turning found footage into a compelling video. This is great for the times we currently live in, where you obviously can't shoot with actors. She starts walking you through found footage, as well as focusing on copyright, which is something that a lot of YouTubers first struggle with. Skillshare is only $10 a month with an annual subscription, which is really, can you put a price on knowledge? The first 1,000 people to use the link in the description below will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. So if you're interested in anything from illustration or even Photoshop, film and video, a lot of creative fields, I check out Skillshare because they'll help you learn the software so you can actually create what you want to create. So check out that link below and get that free trial of the premium membership. As for the castings, we are taking on the sidekicks of the Bat. So today we're talking about Nightwing, Red Hood, Tim Drake, Carrie Kelly, and Damien Wayne. So let's recast the Bat family. First up, we have the first Robin. But in the universe I'm setting up, I actually want him to already don the mantle of Nightwing. Now, Nightwing at this point should be in his late 20s to early 30s and be really separated from Batman. He should be his own man and not really even a Robin at all. Now, Dick Grayson's story of course parallels Batman himself, and Batman was there to mentor him. If I'm doing my ideal scenario and we're tackling Red Hood first, his storyline would be kind of sidelined, and Nightwing would be a little bit less important. But I still want to have him as a constant throughout the films, just not a main player, more of an equal to Batman rather than someone he's training. Because of this, I don't think we really need an A-list actor for this to work, rather than someone who can show up, help Batman, hold his own in those fight scenes, and then really go back into the shadows. I went with Luke Pascalino, who is far from being a household name. He has the acrobatic nature as well as being a badass to really take on Nightwing. He was unbelievable in Snowpiercer in pretty much a mute role. You can definitely see through those action scenes he has the physicality to bring this to life. He has been in Snatch where he does don a super thick accent, but he shows he can really act. He has that cool and badass nature needed for Nightwing. He's a star in the making and has the chops to be an A-list actor. I can see him doing a great job, and this could be his star-turning performance.
Very well. I'll fight both of you.
So Luke Pascalino as Nightwing. Next up, we're going to tackle Carrie Kelly, a Robin who's a little bit less popular with the fans. I know her best from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, where she works pretty well in my opinion. Now, I don't think Carrie Kelly would be set up right away within this universe, and if she was, it'd be completely separate than Red Hood. Now, Kelly is a 13-year-old girl and actually becomes Robin after she saves Batman's life. Her personality is a nice contrast to Batman, being more spunky and willing to do anything. She is a strong character who's looking for action and is sharp with her dialogue. I went with Sophia Lillis for this role, who is best known for her role in It, and has shown she can really play this personality and strength of character. Even within a group of boys, she makes herself known and stands up.
You sure they got the right stuff to fix you up?
She is bordering on the older side, and she recently turned 18, But if we're going to tackle Carrie Kelly, in Dark Knight Returns within the first story within this franchise, she would definitely work. She exemplifies the look but the feeling for this character. Even in I'm Not Okay With This, she shows she can do wonders in this role.
Seriously?
Excuse me?
Dina's been studying this for weeks, now Brad cheats off her and she has to fail the test? I mean, that is such bullshit!
So Sophia Lillis as Carrie Kelly. Next up we have Tim Drake, or Red Robin if you'd prefer it. Now Tim Drake is a natural. I think even Nightwing once said he's the best of them all, and he'd fit into the shoes of Batman well. But if we're talking about Drake's personality, he's a little bit of a workaholic, he's a little obsessive. The way I want to take him is someone who takes his job uber seriously. He not only hangs on Batman's every word, but also learns from him. He's resilient, but he's willing to put in the work. I want an actor who's on the younger side. It actually feels more that 16 years old, but I also need someone who has that experience and can also be crafted into that Batman archetype. If Timothée Chalamet was younger, I think he'd work incredibly well in this role, but he's now in his mid-20s and he's taking on very different projects. My choice is Lucas Jade Zuman, who's still a little bit more unknown. He still looks incredibly youthful and can play every side of this character that we want. I first saw him in 20th Century Women, where he really impressed, but it's when I saw him in Anne with an E that I knew he'd be great for this role. I think he'd really take a grounded approach to this role, but I think he could bring a lot of emotion.
Perhaps the good doctor can tell us the answer.
The answer is modifier, sir. And I managed to learn that with no extra time from you.
He's definitely an up-and-coming talent, and he could bring the innocence as well as that dark nature to it. So Lucas Jade Zuman as Tim Drake. Next up we have Damien Wayne, the son of Batman himself. He is genetically engineered and has an interesting story, even though he's really not my favorite. Now, I've not always been the fan of the secret son/daughter storyline, and I always feel like it's a little bit unearned, but Damien Wayne is still somewhat of a fan favorite, and we can't just miss him on this list because I am not the biggest fan. If I had my way, Damien would be an unknown Middle Eastern, far younger than the rest of the cast that we talked about today. But I had a tough time within those parameters. Rather, just like Kelly, if we were to cast Damien, it would have to be for that first film. You would toss out the idea of Red Hood and we'd focus on the son dynamic. And if we were going to focus on that storyline, an older Damien still would work. That's why Aidan Gallagher is great. He's shown he can play morally questionable, brutish, and even selfish, but he can also grow as a character. He is 17 at this time, which is much older than I'd like, but Aidan is so perfect for this role, I just can't overlook it.
I'd ask what you're up to, Klaus, but then it occurred to me. I don't care.
So Aidan Gallagher as Damien Wayne. Lastly, we have Red Hood, the Robin who has the most interesting story in my opinion. Now, I've been saying it for years that Under the Red Hood needs to be done in live action. It's complex, it shows characters, it shows growth. It's an amazing Batman storyline. Now, if I was gonna tackle Red Hood, it would probably be in the second film, set up Batman, do something a little bit more typical, and then do it in the second film. So it's important that we have an actor who can do it all. Not only take on the role of Red Hood, but those flashbacks, or even potentially him as Robin at some point. I know a lot of people want Jensen Ackles for this. In my opinion, he's aged out of the role, so we definitely have to look elsewhere. We need someone who's still boyish and youthful enough that he can be believable as a Robin, but someone who has that gravitas and that nature that can be believable as Red Hood as well. My only choice for this that can work both ways is Taran Edgarton. He has shown in the Kingsman franchise that he can bring a similar nature to this role, but also he can play dark and disturbed as we saw in Rocketman. He definitely embodies a role as we've seen in the past, and he could really bring something wonderful to this. The same way that we saw him in Kingsman taking too many risks and being a little bit chaotic at some points, we could see that in his Robin. Then we could see that darker tone that he brought in Robin Hood and things like Rocketman.
I was Robin of Locksley, a crusader under the flag of the King of England. Then I was the Hood. Now I really don't care what you call me, thief or lord.
He's a very capable actor who I think could bring a lot more dimension to even a role with so much. So Taran Edgarton as Red Hood. So let me know your choices in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. We are going to start tackling the villains next. Let me know what you'd like to see most. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.